How you been, brother? Good to see you.
Hi, Jason.
Hey, Chamath.
You're healed from your spanking at poker last week?
Oh, that was not fun. That was not fun. Jay Cal on tilt. But there was some good wine, and it was good to have you back.
J. Cal is a mouthy little guy for the last 18 months. While I was healing myself, I was not at the poker game. He was running over everybody verbally. And I showed up, and for the first 15 minutes, all I did was literally tear everybody a new one. Just randomly.
Destroyed.
I mean, just destroying everything. The DoorDash guy was destroyed. Everybody was in a puddle.
It was brutal. Yeah. But
and then J. Cal lost. When J. Cal loses, he shuts up. He clams up. He gets really quiet.
I get very frustrated with myself when I make bad plays. I don't get frustrated by randomness. I don't mind getting sucked out on. I know when I did something stupid. Try to get better. But speaking about doing stupid stuff, hey, how's the last year been for you?
Last year has really, I mean, honestly,
I'm being facetious, but there's been a lot of changes.
It has been the most incredible year of my life. Yeah, the last 18 months has probably been the most profound 18 months of my life.
Well, let's get into it a bit. I remember you were here a couple years ago, and obviously you've spoken at our events, been on the pod a whole bunch of times. You're one of the highest rated speakers we've ever had because you're always very candid. You're also very ambitious. And I watched Social Capital go from being what I would call the classic Series A and seed stage fund, and then you added an IPOA, and then you added a growth fund and a hedge fund, and this grand vision started to emerge. And now it seems like you've deprecated all that and gotten back to the roots. What happened? Why? How did you wind up here?
Well, it was a lot of me just trying to figure out who I was as a person and trying to just have confidence in myself and not be so completely insecure. And a lot of my success was always rooted in this massive inferiority complex that I had. Not white, not rich, not well educated, blah, 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 blah. You know, you pack on all this baggage over so many years. But it can be really instrumental in motivating you. And it was very motivating for me. And so it worked for a really long time. But then I started to fall for a lot of the trappings of what some of that had given me. Meaning, you know, when I was in sort of years 6, 7, and 8 of Social Capital, I frankly got distracted. I started out with this mission of wanting to work on really important companies and ideas and work with founders for, you know, decades. And I thought that's what would be necessary to really solve some important problems in the world. And so in order to do that, I thought, well, let me put in a lot of my own money and then I'll establish control. And all of that was true, but I still fell for it. Next thing you know, I was flying around London, Paris, New York, Abu Dhabi, Riyadh, and you're meeting with all these people that you think are important. And as with a lot of things, what happens in mythology is when you get close to the myth, it disintegrates and you realize that there's really not much there. And that oftentimes the emperor has no clothes. Like think about all of the entrepreneurs you aspire to meet that you think are exceptional. I probably know all of them. You would probably, and I, if we rated 1 to 10, would give them very different scores. Because they're just normal people. And they have the same weaknesses and, you know, faults and trappings that we all do. And so in any event, the point is, I got to a place where I was like, nothing is working for me, meaning I was richer than I had ever been or more well-known or more notoriety. And I was thoroughly unhappy.
And you got the NBA team, or a piece of it, a big piece of it, the Warriors, that won multiple championships. And that was mind-blowing for both of us to hang out at Warrior games or
take them to Vegas.
Yeah, have fun. And it was kind of mind-blowing. But at the end of the day, you kind of drifted away from what you were good at.
I was not happy. I mean, well, at the core of it, I was just fundamentally not happy. And so how does it manifest? It manifests in the following ways. One, I was very emotionally unavailable to my family. I was unemotional to my friends, unavailable. I was basically absent, building a business that I didn't want to be building, meaning constantly on the road, constantly on a plane, beating up my body, beating up my mind. And it took me in these last 18 months the courage to just say enough. And basically what it was me seeking out my own therapy. And all of a sudden I realized there is so much baggage that relates to the trauma that I had when I was a kid. And I had always talked about it, but I'd never really dealt with it, you know? And there's something, and I would just put a very fine point on it, which is a lot of us deal with baggage and trauma as from our childhood. In my specific case, what it left was a deep gaping hole where I felt completely unworthy and not whole. Boom, that's the end. There's a lot of stuff that comes up to it, but that's the takeaway. That's the punchline. Immigrant family, alcoholic father, abusive psychologically and physically. And all of us have versions of all of this trauma. The point is that I felt zero sense of worth. And so I chased everybody else's definition of what worthy and successful should mean. And I did a good fucking job about it too.
Yeah, you were faking it pretty good there for a while.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, I could dunk with the best of them. I mean, truly. But it was not making me happy. And it took me into my early 40s to say, what is going to change this sort of lingering, burning sensation in my stomach? And so I just went off to fix these things. And so it caused a ton of dramatic change, both personally in my life and professionally in my life. And professionally, the most important thing is I said, I'm building somebody else's company. And I'm sure all of you guys, founders, have felt that moment where it's like, am I building the thing that I want, or am I building the thing that somebody else wants? Well, these investors will tell you they'll give me money if you do this, and this. Some of it feels core. Some of it doesn't feel core. Well, guess what happens when somebody tells you, Chamath, I'll give you $5 billion. You just need to do this, and this. And I'm like, I don't need your $5 billion. But then my partner's like, no, we want theirs too, and yours. And if you don't do it, we will quit, or this and that. And all of a sudden it's like, the business of being in a business takes over, and then you forget what you were there for in the first place. Mission goes out the door, values go out the door, the way in which you made decisions go out the door, your risk tolerance changes. Again, I think what I went through, a lot of founders go through. And there have to be these moments where you basically circle the wagons and say, enough's enough, or you capitulate. And that was my choice. I had to either capitulate, or I had to basically rip it all down, and I chose to rip it all down.